Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Millie and today I'm going to be talking about my 5 most used and my 5 least used eyeshadow palettes from my collection. Now these are kind of pre everything that's happening in the world right now, and even though I'm still wearing makeup most days, I find that I'm using different palettes, and it's mostly because I've been working on doing some wear tests with multi-chrome so that I can give you a better overview on the ranking of the different multi-chromes that I have from different brands. So I think it's kind of an anomaly, which is why I'm going to be talking about palettes that I was using for probably, the last 6 months to a year, the most and the least pre everything that's happening right now. So let's get into it. I'm first going to talk about my 5 most used, and some of these might be actually a little surprising. At least they were surprising for me when I was really thinking about it. The first palette is the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette, and actually was totally not interested in it at all when it came out. I was like, this is whatever. I think it came out last spring, I believe. Well, I'm so happy I bought it because honestly, I used this all last summer so much, and even since then, even in the winter, I still grab for this palette. I love the peachy tones, and I love peachy tones on my skin tone, so I reach for it a lot. Definitely not really for the glitters in here, not a huge fan. Please, ColourPop, stop doing that. I think it would have been much better if these were the super shock shadows like this one is, but this palette is just super stunning, and I think it's very versatile, and I love reaching for this one. And I'm definitely a colorful kind of person, and I do rotate my palettes out pretty much every day. I use a different palette or different singles or something, but there are times where I just want something a little bit more natural, do I dare say. And this is the Huda New Nude palette, and I love the color story of this. I love the cooler tones compared to the Sweet Talk palette. I think this is a whole nother mood. This has been kind of my go-to palette on days that I just want something simple and I slept in a little bit and don't have much time to do makeup, or when I'm going to events like a wedding or a family party. This is what I would wear because it's just so stunning. You can create some really beautiful looks, and you can achieve quite a bit of depth with this palette, I think, and the shimmers and these little metallics are so beautiful. They're so foiled. I love this palette. So since I was just talking about some cooler tones, let's go back into the warmer tones. This is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette, and oh my god, I love this palette. It's so beautiful. Natasha Denona has probably my most favorite formula, or if not the most, it's one of the top 3 or 2. I just love it. This is such a great palette for in the morning when you just don't want any fuss. The mattes just blend themselves. Honestly, the shimmers are beautiful. I think this one's a little bit more of a topper, so is that one. But they're just really beautiful tones for every day. And I love the mix of the oranges and the yellows with a mix of some of these pinky tones like these. And I also love that this is smaller than her other palettes and the pans are smaller, so I think it's just really cute, and I would highly recommend if you are into these kinds of tones. Next up is another Natasha Denona palette, and I'm sorry, I love her formula so much, like I said, and I can just really create some really effortless looks with her formula. And this is the Metropolis palette, which I was completely uninterested at first when I first saw the release photo, and then in person, oh, it's totally different. It's so stunning. This is a mixture of regular mattes and some of her more cream to powder mattes. I don't know really what they're called. They feel like cream and they blend so easily. I'm obsessed, and I really wish she would just do a whole palette with just those mattes in that formula. So this palette is a really beautiful kind of transitional palette, I would say, from summer to fall to winter and then back into spring. Definitely a little bit more earthy tones, for the fall and the winter. But I don't really believe that there's only certain tones you should wear at certain times of the year. I think that you can wear whatever you want all year around. So here we have a mixture of some really stunning metallic shades that are a little bit more golden, and then you have some pops here and there, like this matte orange, this metallic blue, so stunning, and then these super deep cream formulas. These are amazing, and they're just really great in adding depth into any kind of look that you create with this palette. And this last most used palette might probably surprise you because it surprised me, and this is the Sugar Pill Capsule Collection C1 Pink Edition, whatever, palette. And I know that in my video, my 4 looks and a review, I didn't really love the metallics. And so honestly, that's not really what I reach for in this palette. I reach for the mattes. I really love the mattes. I find myself that anytime I want a blue or a purple, I go for these 2 shades from this palette. Like, I specifically reach for this palette for that, which is pretty rare for me. And I just love the mattes. I know that they blend really easily. They're super pigmented. So I love this palette. I've really grown to love it. Still really salty about this eyeshadow here. Let's not talk about it. But everything else, I think the metallics are still really metallic and definitely workable. But the mattes are the real star in this palette. And so now let's dive into my least used palettes. And one of them is the Dragon Child palette from Menagerie Cosmetics. I know I love the tones in this palette, but I just don't reach for it. I feel like every time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use this palette, I look at it and I don't really know what to create. I just feel a little limited depth-wise. I think a lot of these are pretty dark. I know there's some, you know, lighter shades, but for the most part, the mattes are like kind of on the darker side, and they're kind of all of these are pretty much the same tone. So I just have trouble kind of thinking of looks to do with this. I definitely want to do a Throwback Thursday with this palette eventually, because I really just need to go in and get through that rut that I have with this palette. So I just don't really reach for it. The next palette is the Melt Cosmetics Impulsive palette, which it's just partially why I don't use it. Is just it's so chunky. It's just too big. I don't know why they decided to do something like this, and the fact that like it's like steps of eyeshadow, I don't know, I don't really like this layout. There's just too many metallics in this palette, and I definitely am somebody who likes to dip into mostly mattes. And I also think that some of these shades are like repeats from like the Gemini palette, and it just, I understand Melt Cosmetics, you really love your grungy tones, but please, I just feel like this palette would have been so much better if they had some matte purples and blues to kind of go with these shades, because here it's just like a wall of shimmer. Like, it's too much. But it's definitely not about quality, because I think the mattes are great and the shimmers are really beautiful as well. It's really just so many shimmers. I can't do it. I can't. The next palette is a Natasha Denona palette, and this is the Tropic palette. And this palette kind of broke my heart because of all these hard pans down here, basically. It's just really unfortunate. The mattes are really beautiful, and I think it's partially because I wish there were a couple more colorful mattes in this palette, but it's really just the shimmers. Like, these two are completely hard pan, and Gusti is kind of like this weird topper that it's almost like not even anything on your eyes, so I don't like that. So I just don't really reach for it because I feel like I can't really get a nice mix of mattes and shimmers. Like, I wouldn't want to use these shimmers, honestly. Like, they're just so hard pan that I wouldn't want to go back into them and make them hard pan even more if that's possible. So I have so many other better shimmers. I have other palettes with better shimmers and a mix of mattes that I would rather reach for than this palette, unfortunately. Sorry, Natasha. I love you. The fourth palette is the Kaleidos Futurism 5 Electro Turquoise palette, which is, the packaging is so just chef's kiss. It's really beautiful. I love it as a graphic designer. I really love the attention to detail and things like that. And the color story is definitely very unique. The shimmers are stunning and the mattes blend really effortlessly. But I just don't reach for it for the same reason that it's really cool, and that's because of the color story. I feel like I'm kind of holding out on using this palette for like October and Halloween. For some reason, that orange just screams to me Halloween only. But I really need to dip into this palette more because I love this teal. It's so beautiful. The shimmers are so sparkly, and I'm definitely excited to see what other products and eyeshadow palettes Kaleidos comes out with in the future. So I really just need to get more use out of this palette. I really want to, but unfortunately it's just such a small palette that I feel a little limited in the looks that I can create, and they're very specific kinds of looks. So that's why I think I haven't been really reaching for it. So we're on to the fifth least used palette. And this palette actually ironically has been a most used palette back when it came out, like way back, I think it was like 4 years ago. But since then I just don't reach for it. I have so many other eyeshadows that I prefer, and I have to like really force myself to use this palette. And this is the ABH Modern Renaissance palette. It's beautiful. It was really, I think, innovative for the time when it was released, but since then I feel like I've seen a lot of palettes with the same kind of theme come out that are better done than this. And also my palette is kind of old and I feel like the formula doesn't quite perform as well as it did when I first got it. Obviously it's like 4 years old and I've used it, and this is my only palette that has a pan in it, so I'm really proud of my little baby pan in here. But every time I do go in and use it, I look at it and I feel really limited with the shimmers. I think the shimmers are not really anything great, especially because I think shimmer formula has improved so much in general over the last 4 years among like all kinds of brands. And then also Antique Bronze is like a satin, and I have no use for satins in my life, and I don't know, I just really don't want to use it. And I think it's also because my makeup taste has changed quite a bit since I got it and was using it nonstop, and I just have so many other formulas like Natasha Denona that I would rather use than this palette. And even just color wise, I still love my pinks and my oranges. I like them in other palettes. I don't know, I'm sorry. So those are my most used and least used palettes for my collection. Let me know in the comments below if you're surprised. Also, let me know what your most used and least used palettes are. I'm really curious to know. I think everybody has always such a broad spectrum of what they like and what they don't like and what they like to reach for, whether it's formula or colors or palettes too old, like in my case. And so that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And also subscribe if you haven't already. I will put up some of my other videos up on the screen in case you want to keep watching. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you next time.